Hi everyone, thank you for joining us for our second webinar in partnership with Shared Ownership Week. I am Jade Turnstile from Share to Buy, who are the country's leading property portal specialising in shared ownership homes, and I'll be hosting today's session alongside representatives from Peabody, Network Homes and So Resi by Metropolitan Thames Valley. However, just before we get going, I wanted to play a short video for you all about Shared Ownership Week, which is taking place right now. Great, so to get things started, I'll be joined today by Lawrence Main from Peabody, Amarjit Sangha from Network Homes, and Sushvinder Sailan from So Resi, who are going to talk through the costs associated with buying a shared ownership home. However, just before I pass you over to our guest speakers, I wanted to run through some quick housekeeping with you all. Firstly, our speakers are going to run through their presentations before opening up to a live Q&A session, which will last for around 10 minutes at the end of the session. So if you have any questions for our experts, feel free to pop them in the chat tool to the right-hand side of your screen. You'll see an icon with a couple of little speech bubbles, and we'll get through as many as we can at the end. Also on the right-hand side, it's worth keeping an eye on the offers and files tabs, as we'll have a number of links and downloadable content, such as brochures and floor plans for you that you can download and interact with throughout the session. I also just wanted to let you know that this webinar will be recorded and it will be shared with you all afterwards. So don't worry if you happen to miss any of the important information along the way. We'll make sure you have access to it after the session has ended. So that's it from me for now. I'll be back at the end of the presentations for the Q&A, but in the meantime, I'll pass you over to Lawrence from Peabody.
Hi, my name is Lawrence Main. I'm a regional sales manager for Peabody. And during this session, I hope to help you understand how much it actually costs to buy a shared ownership property. So, firstly, shared ownership is designed to help you get on the property ladder. And here's how it works. So step one, you buy a share in your dream home. Initially as little as 25%, or if you're in a lucky position, you can buy up to 75%. And in the next year, you could what we call staircase, which is buy further shares up to 100%. Step two, you pay rent on the rest of the share you don't own. Peabody own that share. The rent is discounted, and so it's cheaper than you'd expect on the open market. It's normally around 2.75% of the remaining equity in the property. And step three, you can buy more of your property later. As your salary increases and your savings grow over time, you can buy a larger share of your home, until eventually you own 100% either of your leasehold property or of your freehold property if you're lucky enough to find a shared ownership house. So the cost of buying through shared ownership. To give you some idea of the costs involved in buying your shared ownership home, I've put together an illustration, and these are based on one-bedroom apartments at Williamson Heights in Wembley Park, one of our flagship schemes that we've recently launched. So the 100% cost of buying a one-bedroom home there will be in the region of $388,000. And your 25% share that you're purchasing first off will be $97,000. So traditionally, you'd look for a 10% deposit. Some lenders now are asking for larger deposits of 15%. If you're very lucky, you might find one asking for 5%, but let's base this on 10% for now. So the deposit you'd have to find up front is $9,700, and you give that to your solicitor when we exchange contracts. You give that to your solicitor when we exchange contracts, and you'll need that for your mortgage lenders as well. Your monthly costs are going to be £1,383. So your monthly mortgage would be £465, monthly rent £666, and the service charge £252. Service charges can vary wherever you go and buy, depending on what amenities are available on that site. It could be that there's gymnasiums, there's libraries, there's cinemas, there's concierge. So the more you have to pay in the way of service charge. And before you purchase, make sure you've got enough money together to help pay the other estimated costs. So you'd be looking at a reservation fee of around £500, solicitors' fees of around £700. Then you have legal disbursements such as searches, etc. That will be around £600. There'll be a fee for the mortgage advisor of around 400, mortgage valuation fee, which will be up to around £800 at the very most, and the mortgage arrangement fee, again, could be up somewhere in the region of £1,000. Now, on a scheme like Williamson Heights, you do have different tenures. So if you're thinking of buying Help to Buy, which is a government-backed scheme helping people get on the ladder, if you look at a property there with prices from 391,000, you're going to need 5% to purchase that property. So you'll be looking at 19,550 as a deposit. So use your savings for a 5% deposit. You get a loan of up to 40% of the government, payable back to them in 5 years, and then a mortgage for the rest. This will mean that you require a minimum income of 63,000. Now, if you're going for shared ownership, you'll be looking at a 10% deposit on your share of 9,700, and you can buy as little as 25% if that's what your financial advisor advises us that that's what you can afford. If they advise us that you can afford 50%, then you have to buy at 50%, and it could be as much as 75%. You'll pay discounted rent on the rest of the property, and don't forget your service charges. So your minimum income would be around 54,530. So why buy a shared ownership home with Peabody? So we deliver timeless, high quality homes across London and the South East. We've been around for about 150 years, so I think we've got used to what we're doing. We design, build and maintain award-winning homes in neighbourhoods where people are proud to live in. I mean, some Peabody residents, not leaseholders necessarily, because we haven't always been selling homes, but have lived on Peabody estates for a long, long time. And for the second year in a row, we've achieved a gold award for customer satisfaction. So let me tell you a little bit about a scheme that we're launching on October the 17th, which consequently is my birthday, so I'm quite pleased about this one, called Valley House in Charlton. And to be honest, from some of the balconies, you can overlook the Valley Stadium at a distance. So if you're a Charlton fan, it will be a great development for you. And it's minutes away from Greenwich and Blackheath, which are very popular areas. I mean, particularly if you like kite flying on Blackheath, and Greenwich Park is an absolutely beautiful place to go for a picnic, when of course we're all allowed to do that. And Valley House offers a unique collection of 1, 2 and 3 bedroom homes designed with you in mind. Each of the apartment benefits from a really stylish kitchen where we've got silestone worktops, glass splashbacks, integrated appliances. It's all open plan with your living areas. There's private outdoor space in the shape of balconies. And there's a communal space down below where those of you that will be looking at 3-bedroom properties and maybe have children will have a safe environment to play in. Some of the units come with parking. And if you want to know a bit more, take a snap of the QR code at the bottom, and then that will be able to tell you a bit more about the scheme. So next, I hope to show you a short video about a Valley House show apartment. There you are. I hope you really enjoyed that, and I really look forward to meeting you down there on October the 17th, where at the moment we're still hoping to be launching physically both Help to Buy units and shared ownership properties. And lastly, I'd just like to show you a short video again about one of our current leaseholder. She bought off of us at a development called The Reach in Thamesmead, and this is just about her experience and how well it suited her to buy with Peabody.
Hiya, Lawrence. I'm really sorry. We seem to be having issues loading the video for this one. So I'm really sorry. What we'll do is we'll try and get that one back up and running and play it a little later on if we can get hold of it.
No, that's brilliant. Okay, if we can get that going, that'd be fantastic. So to everybody else, thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to visit us at peabodysales.co.uk or follow us on social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, on Instagram. Thanks very much. Take care. Bye. I'd just like to introduce my next co-host, and that'll be Amar from Network Homes. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Amjit Sangha. I'm the Senior Sales Manager at Network Homes. We have various developments around Hertfordshire and in London. And today I'm just going to be talking a little bit about the kind of expenses that you're likely to incur when you're buying a shared ownership property. These are your typical costs, but there could be more. So these are your standard ones that you'll probably encounter just before you move into your property. I think my colleague did highlight some of these costs previously, but I just want to go through some of these anyway with yourselves. The lender valuation fee, this is typically a valuation against the property you're buying. It can range anything from £200 up to £500, depending on the value of your property and which surveying company or lender that you decide to go along with. There's always an arrangement fee associated with the rates that the brokers would obviously offer you. Some come with no arrangement fees, and some come with slightly higher arrangement fees. The arrangement fees, the higher the arrangement fee, the slightly better the rate you'll get in terms of the mortgage rate. And the arrangement fee itself can either be paid up front on completion, or it can be added to the loan and obviously increase your monthly payments by £1 or £2, depending on how much that arrangement fee is. The other kind of costs that you'll need to be aware of are your deposit itself. As my colleague mentioned earlier, the typical deposit you'll need for shared ownership is a 5% deposit. But what within the last 6 months, 8 months, what we are finding now is that lenders are really tightening their criteria and asking a bit more commitment from the customer. That said, the commitment itself entitles you to a slightly better rate. So you can go anything from a 5% deposit up to now a 15% deposit. So your 15% deposit gives you a much slightly better rate. The other costs that you'll find are your solicitor fees. So these are the solicitor for acting on behalf of the purchase. Normally the developer or the housing association will have a recommended solicitor on their panel. They would hold up the contact details for the housing association to have all the paperwork, would have worked on the development with the housing association and obviously work on your behalf. Their fees range anything between £650, £750 just for the initial fees for their services. And then there's additional obviously charges for any searches, other work that they may carry out for you. So this will kind of give you a total figure around about £1,200 to £1,400 typically. Your last fee associated with the purchase will be a stamp duty. Luckily enough, the government's obviously changed the rules right now with the incentive with the stamp duty holiday, which means that if you buy now up to value of 500,000 up until the 31st of March 2021, there won't be any stamp duty to pay at all. We don't know whether that will continue, or if it doesn't, it will then revert back to the standard rates charged. I wanted just to really talk to you about the different costs associated with compared to a shared ownership to a traditional mortgage. What you find is on this slide I'm showing here the different levels. So we have the 95% loan to value, the 90%, and obviously the 85%. But generally speaking, what you'll find is that compared to the outright purchase, you're going to be slightly, maybe between £200 and £300, slightly better off taking out a shared ownership property, which allows you to get on the ladder, to find a 5 or 10% deposit against the full asking price. It can be quite difficult to find. Obviously, adding on the other costs, can be quite unaffordable. So sometimes the shared ownership option, it can be the best rate for yourself just to get on the ladder. What you find is properties in London are a little bit more expensive. This is where shared ownership really works well to be able to get those bigger properties and obviously buy that lower share. Luckily enough, the government, and the housing associations all offer you an opportunity to buy the minimum share of 25% share, up to 75% in the first tranche, and then you can obviously have the option to staircase later. We have a development, A Plus Hounslow. This is one of our probably flagship developments. We're selling this off plan currently at the moment. It has 54 units of 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. They range anything between £300,000 for 1 bedroom and 375 for a 2 bedroom. We are offering various incentives on this scheme, which will include things like money towards legal fees, and we are offering a contribution towards the parking space. So that's our development. I'm just going to show you a quick video now on the scheme. If you need any more information, please get in touch with Network Homes, and hope you enjoy the seminar. Thank you.
Here at Heart, we are presenting you with Network Homes' brand new, stunning A+ development in Hounslow, available to purchase on a shared ownership basis. So come and have a look around with us. Phase 2 of this beautiful selection of 1 and 2 bed high-spec apartments in the Assembly launches now, spring 2020, and are the best in class. These apartments are located on the Piccadilly line. A-Star is perfectly located for overground and bus services, Hounslow bus station only a 4-minute walk away. Being an 8-minute walk from Hounslow East Tube Station means getting into central London could not be easier. All apartments in A+ are available to purchase with the shared ownership scheme. These also come with a brand new 125-year lease. The Assembly in Hounslow is a beautifully designed car-free development. The apartments are fully fitted with high-specification Samsung appliances, as Network Homes will always want you to have the best in class. Hounslow is ideally situated in southwest London, close to London's Heathrow Airport, making the location ideal for commuters. Get in touch with our A+ team in Heart Estate Agents, who will be able to give you more information on this stunning development. And don't miss out.
Right, I think that cut abruptly to me. So just to reintroduce myself, I'm Sushvinda Salan, Head of After Sales at So Resi by Metropolitan Thames Valley. And my team covers the staircasing work stream, along with other things after the leaseholder buys from the new build team. So you're probably wondering what staircasing? Well, if you've bought your initial share in your home, say for example 30%, the next steps you're probably wondering is, well, how do I get to 100% ownership? And that's where staircasing comes in. What is it? So exactly that. It's a way to buy more shares in your home until you own 100% of it. You can do it at a time that suits you. So if your salary increases, you've saved up a bit more of a deposit. It's totally up to you when you want to do it, and how many times you would like to do it to get to 100%. We normally encourage people to staircase as much as you can in that one transaction. So try not to do it too many times, because each time you do it, you will have to pay costs, which I'll go through in a minute. And when you buy more shares in your home, you lower the payment that you're making to the housing association. And in your lease, it's called obviously the rent. And so, yeah, when you do buy more shares, that's the advantage of you'll be lowering your rent. So how does it work? Well, first thing you want to do is, well, how much am I going to pay? And you need to have a RICS valuation carried out on your property. For those of you who may not know what RICS means, it's Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors. So it's got to be a valuation done by a qualified surveyor from RICS. It is based on the current valuation at the time you want to buy more shares. So not the original value when you first bought your home. It is always based on the current valuation. So just bear that in mind. Then you can decide how much you want to buy. So you can start at a minimum of 10%, as it's stated in your lease, but you can go all the way up to 100% in the first go. or you can do something in the middle. So you can buy in multiples of 5%. So you can buy 15, 20, 25, all the way up to 100%. So there is quite a bit of flexibility and choice for you. In terms of, just to give you an example, a very basic example, it's if your property was valued at 250,000 today and you wanted to buy 10%, that would mean you would be paying the housing association 25,000 to buy 10% more. You should, of course, always check either with your current lender or a financial advisor about what is affordable, because your mortgage payments could go up if you are intending to remortgage and increase your mortgage whilst your rent is going down. And the key things to remember is the monthly costs that you're paying out every month as a proportion of your net income, and making sure that's affordable for you going forward. So how much does my rent go down by? Well, it's a proportion of how much you staircase up by. But this is just an example. So your current rent, let's say you own 30% at the moment, and your current rent is £500 a month, and you decide you want to increase your share by 20% to 50% ownership. And that means we've got a calculator on our website you can use and play around with. But your rent will reduce to £357.14 a month if you decide to staircase by that amount. So just gives you an idea, an example of what your rent could go down by. Like I said, there is a calculator on our website at soresi.co.uk, so feel free to visit and pump in some figures and see how it works. So what are the costs involved? Of course, the main cost is the share that you'll be paying to the housing association. So that will be, for example, 25 grand to the housing association. You will need to pay for a valuation report. Our panel surveys start from about £250. That's the average. It is your choice who you choose in terms of a RIC surveyor. You could go with the panel that the housing association recommend or someone else. So your fee will vary according to who you choose. There will be mortgage lender fees if you're remortgaging, and if you are going with a totally new lender, they may ask you to pay for a separate valuation report for them. We will instruct solicitors, so the housing association instructs solicitors on their behalf, and you will need to instruct solicitors to carry out the transaction, and they will be doing the legal work for you and completing all the paperwork. Typically, the fees start at £500. So those Lawrence and Emma have also given some legal fees as well to you. So that gives you an idea of broad balance. Typically starts at 500, can go upwards depending on the work involved. And of course, there will be stamp duty potentially payable depending on the share value and if it meets the stamp duty thresholds. Of course, we've got the stamp duty holiday at the moment, so that does apply to staircasing right now as well. Okay, so that was staircasing. I hope that's clarified or helped you understand what it's all about and how it works once you've bought the property. Next, I'm going to go into one of our developments and give you a flavour of what that looks like. It's So Resi Times Square, and it's in Welwyn Garden City in Hertfordshire. And it's a development with studio, 1, 2 and 3 bedroom apartments. So I'll give you a little bit of detail about that. So there's a mix of shared ownership and private sale on the site. The development itself is a redevelopment and refurbishment of the former Rank Xerox campus, and it's a conversion of 3 former office complexes, and it's creating really unique apartments. As you'll see in some of the pictures, there is a communal atrium for residents who can now enjoy reading, relaxing, working from home, whatever they choose to do. So it's a great little development. We've got 70% already sold, and so we've made great progress there, and the final release is due in early 2021, and that's the last set of 1 and 2 bed apartments. The location itself, again, it's great. 10 minutes walk from Welwyn Garden City Station in the town centre. Trains from Welwyn Garden City to London only takes 30 minutes. So it's great for those commuters who want to get into London. But of course, considering the current times, there's also plenty of space to work from home within the flats. And there's a lot of open green space just on the doorsteps. As you'll see in the pictures and the photos I'm going to show, they're quite light, bright and spacious apartments. They've got great high quality fixtures and fittings, and there's parking available on all the apartments. Some of our apartments also have balconies and terraces. Yeah, this is one of the photos of the atrium. As you can see, it's a conversion, and it was an office block, but now it's being used as a relaxation area for our residents there. Just give you an idea of the prices. They start from for a 25% share, £53,750. And they go up to, as you can see, to the 2 beds. 25% minimum share starts from 77,500. And you can see also at 5% deposits, depending on the lender that you pick, they're very low. The deposits can start from £2,687. So really affordable apartments just outside of London. Great commute into London as well. There's no stamp duties to pay, of course, as I've already mentioned, and Emma and Lawrence have as well. There's the stamp duty holiday, but these apartments also fall within the fall below the stamp duty thresholds anyway before the holiday was in place. So there wouldn't need to be any stamp duty payable if you choose to do so. We've got an expert panel of financial advisors and solicitors that you can also speak to if you did decide to purchase one of our properties. Okay, just some photos for you of the show home and the living room there. One more of the living room photos. And just to give you an idea, like I said, we've got private sale there. They've got 1, 2 and 3 bedroom duplex apartments, and they've got private terraces and parking. Our Skyline apartments have fantastic views over Welwyn Garden City. And in terms of prices, the 1 bedroom apartments are £299,950. 2 bedroom apartments start from £340,000, and our 3 bedroom apartments start from £399,950. Help to Buy is available, and they are great investment opportunities, of course, with the commute down to London, if you were thinking about buying some of the private sale there. That's one of our kitchens with our great fixtures and fittings, and the bathrooms. So just to give you a flavour of who's bought at the development, 90% are first-time buyers due to the affordability and the minimum income required. You can see there that the minimum incomes we've placed their households are 23,000, and that's based on the 25% studio apartment. We've had a mix of people. There's singles, couples and young families from Hertfordshire. And some of those people have been priced out of London, so it's a great location for them, or some of them want to stay local to their families there. And like most of us, most of them have previously lived in private rented homes or living with family or friends. And you can see from Lisa, one of the quotes there, price was a big factor for her, and she found Times Square was very affordable. And it was still easy to reach central London from there. I don't have a snazzy video. However, some of our videos for this site is on our So Resi website, so please do visit. It's www.soresi.co.uk. That's our general site, and for the development itself, /Times-Square. And we're available by email, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And that's Times Square for you. So thank you for listening, everyone. And I think it's going to be Jade.
Hello, that was great. Thank you so much. That was really informative. I can already tell you now. I've been keeping an eye on the chat, and can see you've already answered loads of the questions throughout all of your presentations. So thank you. Yep, brilliant. We're all back. So without further ado, we'll jump straight into the Q&A. We've had loads of questions through. One that's very, very common that we get all the time as well, but have seen a lot in the chat. Lawrence, if you wouldn't mind covering this one for us. How is the rent calculated on the share that I don't own, and will it increase over time?
Okay, the rent is calculated on the share that we own, and as a rule of thumb, you'll see with Peabody and quite a lot of other developers that we're looking at 2.75%. In some cases where we're in more expensive areas, you'll see a much lower rent percentage charged. That's just to make it more affordable for you to be able to purchase. When it comes every year that we look at your rent, we use RPI as our index to increase rent, but the more shares you buy, the less you pay on rent. So it can work out better for you. If you buy more shares, you'll pay less rent, but the rent percentage will never go up. It will always remain at 2.75% or somewhere below, or never really above that, until you staircase out 100%.
Fantastic, thank you. We'll go over to Emma. There's a good question here, which is, I've heard that I need extra money saved on top of my deposit for additional costs. What are these costs and how much would I need to save?
Your typical costs that you'll need for to purchase, and they always say to have savings ending between £3,000 and £5,000. They may be your removal costs, which you need to obviously to pay when you move. There may be some other hidden charges that you hadn't been aware of. It's also always good to have additional monies for service charge and rent, which they paid up front. So normally they take the housing association developer may take that payment up front as a advance payment for the first month. That way you're paid up and you're set up on their systems, and then so you need to incur that, you know, be mindful of that cost. And that's about it, really.
Fantastic, that's really good to know. And then we'll go over to Sushvinder for this one. So you've just kind of touched on stamp duty and the stamp duty holiday and stuff, but we've had a few questions just asking how generally stamp duty works on a shared ownership home, because I know there's a few different options generally, isn't there?
Oh, yeah, the complicated calculations of stamp duty on staircasing. Yeah, I would just say that this is something that your solicitor would advise on, really. So you do speak to a solicitor, because some of them, it depends on a few factors. But the key thing is it depends on what the stamp duty threshold is at the time and how much you're staircasing by. So whether the value of that amount hits those stamp duty thresholds or not. And you may not need to pay any stamp duty whatsoever until you reach 80% of the property as well. So again, these are all things to talk through with a solicitor. And Jay, do you have a solicitor session tomorrow as well?
We do. I was actually just about to say, so I've seen a lot of kind of more niche questions coming in about shared ownership and stamp duty. So yeah, we do have a mortgage advisor and a solicitor on tomorrow at 5 p.m. so that they can go into that a little bit more detail.
Yeah, one thing I would advise at the moment with the stamp duty holiday is, even if you're buying at over 500,000, opt to pay the stamp duty on the full amount of the property now, because then you will pay a much smaller amount than you will every time you staircase. It will just work out much better for you.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because this is it. I think stamp duty can be so confusing, but there are options with shared ownership. So exactly like Lawrence said, you can actually choose when you're buying to pay all the stamp duty of the property then, or you, like Sushvinder said, can delay that until you are up to 80% ownership. So it's just working out what's right for you, what's right for your kind of finances, but exactly that, a solicitor and any kind of financial advisors and stuff would be able to give you a bit more information on that. Perfect. I'll throw this one out there, so anyone's welcome to jump in on this one. Does the reservation fee that you pay just hold the property, or does it contribute towards anything? For example, is it taken off of my deposit?
I'd take this if you like. So the reservation fee, it is your reservation. It is against your plot or your property that you like. So you have your first choice, and that first choice is determined on your qualification. You qualify. You've got an AIP, which is an agreement in principle, that you've had past credit score, so you can get the money you want. The reservation fee itself, it's not an additional fee. It will go towards your deposit. So if you were putting 5% deposit towards the purchase, your solicitor would be advised on your memorandum of sale that you paid a reservation fee of £500, and that go towards your deposit. Sometimes, some instances, housing associations, we will, as we're trying to make affordable homes, we would refund that reservation fee on circumstances, because we're trying to help customers get on the ladder. We don't, obviously, sometimes if they can't proceed for whatever reason, sometimes it's out of their hand. We would happily refund their reservation fee, all of it, so they can hopefully buy another property in the future.
That's brilliant. And actually, it's interesting talking about the kind of reservation fee, because what I will say is just like a little kind of a bit of research for people is, when you are looking to buy, do research into incentives that the housing associations are offering as well, because I know all of you guys will have done kind of variations of incentives, whether it's be like show home furniture packages or money off your legal fees, and some of that can even be £99 reservation fees on plots. So when you're looking for homes and doing that initial research, make sure you're keeping an eye out for those kind of incentives as well. It's just like a little extra thing on your checklist.
Yeah, no, I think now the best incentive you're ever going to get, particularly if you're looking at Help to Buy, is a stamp duty holiday. It's something that won't be around forever. So if you're hesitant
Yeah.
about buying now, get rid of the hesitancy and go ahead and purchase.
Yeah, it's only up until early next year, isn't it? So
March the 31st next year. Yeah.
yeah, so definitely worth taking advantage of that while you can. Lawrence, we'll actually come back to you for this one. Can I take in a lodger to help with my monthly costs?
Yeah, of course you can. I mean, somebody that shares the apartment with you, they're not buying it with you. They're helping you pay for your food, pay for your electricity, all this sort of thing. What they're not doing is buying into the property.
Yeah, so what's really important there actually is what we get quite a lot of is, can I know I'm going to have a lodger and their financial kind of income be taken into consideration during my financial assessment, which is not the case. So you
No,
could,
that's
as long
correct.
as you're honest with your housing provider and say, I'm thinking of taking in a lodger, they'll tell you whether that's fine or not, any kind of terms in your lease. But generally speaking, that won't be an issue, as Lawrence said. But you need to be able to afford that property without their income. So you need to pass financial checks on your own, but nothing's stopping you from taking the equivalent of like rent from them when they're living with you. So that's really good. We'll pop back over to Amal for this one. I know you need to pay a monthly service charge in most shared ownership homes, but how is this calculated and will it increase over time?
The service charge itself, it will vary. It depends on the scheme itself. So the scheme may have many benefits, amenities, services. Those services may include things like car park space, concierge service. If there's a number of lifts in the building, so there may be 3-4 cores in the block, you may have more lifts of service. All those factors are taken into consideration. Sometimes the other additional thing to mention about service charges is that the development itself may be part of a wider scheme. So you may have a wider general service charge to the estate. So you may have your development charge and then there may be a wider estate charge, which you'll contribute towards into. But typically, if you didn't have any of those services or amenities there, your typical service charge would be around about £100 a month, which covers your cleaning, windows. It also covers your things like your building insurance. So your building insurance is covered for you. This is your block insurance, not your contents insurance. But your building insurance is, so when you come to complete, one of the requirements you need to have is your building insurance in place. So the housing provider or whoever has that development will give that as part of the service charge for you. Also in that service charge, they have a reserve fund. The reserve fund itself is for money to be taken for works they may need later on. So if they find out in 5 years' time that they need to do some work on the properties, whether it's on the building, they have that reserve fund to go into. That's why hopefully your service charge won't increase, because they'll be tapping into your reserve fund there. Service charge can increase. Normally, most housing associations will write to their residents to advise them, and most residents can now join a committee on the development, and that committee can obviously have regular meeting with the housing association and providers at regular intervals, and they can obviously highlight any concerns they have. Also, it gives an opportunity for the residents to speak with the housing association about any increases or vice versa. The housing association can advise the residents of upcoming events or if there were going to be any charges, so they're not kind of left just all of a sudden sprung on them. So they advance notice in all cases.
Fantastic. That was really informative. I think that's definitely helped understand the kind of the magnitude of, because service charges is this big pot, and I don't always think people know 100% what it goes towards, but it is good to know, it's down to your windows being cleaned and communal areas and concierge services, stuff like that. So obviously they won't be coming into your flat or house to clean your windows, I'm afraid, but it's good to know exactly what that is and why it's there. I think we have time for a few more questions yet. So one I'll just check out there. Do all housing associations allow you to staircase to 100%, or does that vary between providers?
Yes, so most housing associations should allow you to get to 100% without any issues. Most of the latest leases, the shared ownership leases, allow you to do that. There might be some restrictions on certain developments depending on where they are. So some of them might be rural restrictions. The council may want shared ownership in that development continuously forever for a lifetime. So there might have to be some restrictions on that side where you can't staircase to above 80%, for example. Or there might be an older person's development, shared ownership, which sometimes says you can't staircase to above a certain amount, 200%. So they're not in the majority, but some of those restrictions are on certain sites with specific criteria typically from the local authority there. Otherwise, yeah, you should be able to get to 100%, no problem.
Fantastic. And we've had a good question through here. So going back to that kind of reservation fee section, what happens if multiple people put down a reservation fee? How is it decided who qualifies best for the property?
Right, this is quite a hot topic. I mean, it's what we tend to get a fair number of complaints on when we have a big launch and it's a really popular scheme. We take reservations from everybody that's had an affordability check done. So you might have 30 properties, you might end up with 45, 50 reservations there. What we have to do then is go through and allocate based on priority need. Now that varies. It might be an idea to go back to last Thursday's session when I think we talked a little bit about eligibility. So if you get a chance, go and have a look at the webinar from last Thursday, and that tells you a bit about how we prioritise. But yeah, if you don't get the property you want, we ask you for your alternative choices. And unfortunately, sometimes you're not always going to get where you want to live. So it might take a few months looking around, trying to find somewhere else. But, you know, what we do is all fair and above board, and we stick to the rules and we stick to the local authorities' rules if that's part of our agreement with them as to who we're going to find homes for.
That's great. And yeah, I think that's it's really important to know that like the local authorities can have a say in that as well. But also providers such as yourselves will often have multiple schemes, even in the same sort of area. So especially if they're kind of big regeneration areas and stuff like that, you could have later phases coming, or you could have a different development that you could actually recommend. So talk to the housing provider, talk to the sales people when you're actually at viewings and stuff, and make the most of that time and ask as many questions as you can, because just because that development doesn't work for you or that specific property doesn't mean that there's something not just down the road that would work.
Yeah, we're always happy to cross sell, so don't worry, we'll always find somewhere else for you to live.
And
I will lick some off Lawrence, don't worry. You come to us.
Homes for everyone else. So Sashrinda, we'll come back to you for this one. What costs are involved when selling a shared ownership home? Are there any exit fees or resale fees?
Yes, so there is a resale fee. What normally happens is the housing association has the right to sell the share first, just to keep it within affordable housing, rather than it go to an estate agent first to sell 100%. So yeah, there would normally be a fee for that, and it depends on the housing association, what's in your lease at the time, and what kind of service the housing association is providing. So that could be might be a flat fee of say £500, depending on where the housing association and your property is. Could be 1% of the share. It could be 1% of the full market value, depending again on what the lease says. So yeah, really just got to check that out. Make sure you read up fully on the lease before you sign it, and make sure you understand what fees might be payable later on. Normally the housing association, the new build consultant at So Resi would talk that through with you to make sure you're fully aware before you sign any leases on that. But there will be fees to sell your share, yeah.
Fantastic. So as always, is check the terms of the lease, speak with your housing provider. That's always the best way to find out these things anyway. I think we're going to have to wrap it up there, guys, because I'm afraid I've asked you loads of questions and we kind of run over the time. But thank you so much for joining me. What I'm going to do is just quickly pop this slide up with the URL to Shared Ownership Week. Firstly, I want to say a massive thank you to our speakers for joining us today, and thank you to everyone in the audience who's watched and asked questions. We really appreciate you tuning in, and I do hope you found the session helpful. As part of today's webinar, you've heard about a few developments available from Peabody, Network Homes and So Resi. But if you're interested in finding out more about the shared ownership homes that are available, you can visit sharedtobuy.com, where we have thousands of properties listed all across the country. If you'd like to find out more about Shared Ownership Week and the other events coming up, please visit sharedownershipweek.co.uk, or you can follow that link that's on screen for you there now. And if you actually found today's webinar useful, as we discussed earlier, we'll also be hosting our final webinar at 5 p.m. tomorrow, where we'll be joined by Sensio Financial and Alexander JLO Solicitors, who are going to be offering mortgage advice, legal advice. So we'd love to welcome you back for that one. And Shared Ownership Week are also actually hosting a really interesting live Q&A session, almost like a roundtable, at 1 p.m. this Wednesday, although there's limited spacing for that one, so you would want to register pretty quickly. In the meantime, thank you again to our viewers and speakers joining us today, and I hope you all have a lovely evening. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.